On this episode, I talk with Smashe from Tales of Elleria. This is a long-running project in the Treasure Dao ecosystem, and it's had its shares of ups and downs. They launched their mint at the height of the last bull, and then launched their game into an absolute extinction-level market collapse. But they've persevered. The Tales of Elleria team built through the bear, suffered, and recovered from a massive hack on their LP, and they just kept building and having fun the whole way through. We talk about team size and structure for this type of complex GameFi project, managing emotions as a team through those ups and downs, and managing the community through those ups and downs too. This is a fantastic conversation with tons of learning opportunities for the would-be founder and or team members. Plus, a good amount of history and insight into the game for you players out there too. Here we go. Welcome to Ready Layer 2 with me, Get.Small. This is a podcast for the founders, innovators, and experimenters building the future of Web3 on Arbitrum. Hey everybody, welcome to Ready Layer 2 podcast. This is Get.Small, and I'm sitting here with one of the OGs in Arbitrum and Treasure Gaming, Smashe. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I'm super excited to dig into your project here. You've been at it for a long time. You guys have had a lot of ups and downs throughout it, and you've been delivering a product that the community really loves. So I think you're the perfect person to share with our listeners that are the aspiring builders and want to contribute to the community themselves. So let's start off just a little bit of background on you, Smashe. Give me a quick breakdown of how you got into Web3 gaming in the first place.
Yeah, hi, I'm Smashe. I'm the co-founder of Tales of Elleria. So it's a three-dimensional role-playing GameFi project built on Arbitrum 1, for those who don't know. There are a lot of things you can do in Elleria, which is do your basic, like summon your heroes, take them on assignments, and play interactive turn-based quests. So yeah, to answer your question, I have been playing games way back in the day, like when I was very young. So lots of games grew up with me throughout my childhood. So games like MapleStory, like Genshin Impact, Final Fantasy. And ultimately, when I discovered the world of Web3 gaming, it was just a no-brainer for me, especially since I come from a finance background as well. So finance and gaming put together, and you get GameFi. Yeah, my first introduction to GameFi was Axie Infinity. It was just a basic like turn-based game. Then I got pretty upset with some of the way that Axie Infinity was handling their tokenomics, but this was way back in the day, like at the very beginning. Yeah, they didn't get it right either. And I'm sure that they're doing very well now. But at the start, that was the inspiration behind Tales of Elleria. Like we saw some of the games were pretty unsustainable in terms of tokenomic, and therefore we decided to create our own.
Give me an example of something that was like unsustainable in the game, the way they were doing their tokenomics.
Yeah, sure. So Axie Infinity, I think the main selling point for players was to earn SLP and then sell them, like at the very beginning. Each individual NFTs were worth like 0.3 to 0.5 Ethereum each, and you needed 340, which was pretty expensive. And you could earn up to like $7 or $8 a day just from selling SLP. But the problem comes when there's nothing that you can use SLP to burn other than creating more Axies, which is like a semi-sync but not really a full sync, because by doing so you're actually creating more SLP to be generated, which is ultimately pretty unsustainable. Like if you're only syncing the
Because
game,
you're diluting it as you grow, basically.
yeah, super diluted.
Okay.
Yeah, so if you think about it in the long-term perspective, and not even in the long-term perspective, in short-term perspective, if you take a look at the charts, the amount of SLP emitted per day was like 3 times the amount that was burned. Just looking at the day-to-day charts, even though the price was sustained, you could tell that it will all come crashing down, like the balloon's going to pop anytime soon.
Absolutely. Okay. Very cool. So you set out to build something that was a little bit different than that. So when did the idea for Tales of Elleria start to form?
Yeah, so something pretty interesting was that I was all on my own exploring Web3, and then one of my co-founders of Tales of Elleria, he introduced me to Wayne. Wayne is the tech lead for our team, so he's also trying to create something like a GameFi project on his own. We merged together. He knew the tech side, I knew the finance side, and the tokenomics and planning side, and we decided to create this project called Tales of Elleria. Yeah, it was through through one of my co-founders. So we have 4 main founders of Tales of Elleria. So me and Wayne are the ones that are mainly operating on a day-to-day basis. I'm the one that is more on the business side. He's the one leading the tech side. Yeah, and Tales of Elleria came because we met each other and we just gel so well together that it was such a waste not to come out with something like this.
Nice. That's a great way to find a partner, is
Yeah.
like just organically start working together and then realize, no, we should definitely do something together rather than have a forced thing or something like that. That's awesome. So as you guys set out, like, take me through the timeline. So you start to have these inkling of ideas while you're playing Axie Infinity. You hook up with Wayne. You guys start to develop an idea. Like, at what point did you decide we're going to build Tales of Elleria? We're going to turn this into this specific game, and we're going to head down that path. What did that point look like?
Yeah, so for us, after I met Wayne, we brainstormed through the different ideas that we had and we realized we had quite a decent idea at that point of time, at least when all the other GameFi projects weren't as good as they are now. So we had another founder who is willing to loan us some personnel in his team, and then from there we decided to build our own Tales of Elleria team, and yeah, took off from there. He lent us a few artists, and then we decided to hire a few developers and work through the end of 2021 and into the early 2022. So at the same time, Treasure was starting to take off. So yeah, everything just fit pretty well with our timing of release. Like we were planning to release on BSC at first, and then Treasure came up, and they were doing pretty well. So we went and explored more about Treasure, and they wanted to partner with us.
I noticed that looking back on the old Medium articles, because I wasn't around then. I've been in the space for just over a year now. And so I'm reading back on the history, and I could see that you guys had a mint planned, ready to go, and then you made the treasure announcement. So that when that first mint that you had planned that you delayed, that was scheduled or planned to go live on BSE?
Not exactly. It was supposed to go live on Arbitrum. We had the vote
Oh,
pretty
okay.
early on. Yeah, how I actually launched Tales of Elleria was I soft launched the art on my Twitter page. So back then I was a small holder and all the smalls just came and read the tweet. I just posted
Ah,
the
nice.
picture of Tales of Elleria's background, and that tweet got over 700 likes within 24
Nice.
hours. Yeah, that was when I decided, okay, there is a market on Treasure and there is a market on Arbitrum. So instead of launching on BSC, maybe we should host, what do you call it, a community vote to get to see whether players are interested to bring us on their platform. So we hosted a community vote with 4 options: Polygon, BSC, Arbitrum, and AVEX. And we could tell that Arbitrum was already going to win because of the way that the tweets was rated by the small community. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Arbitrum
Yep.
won the vote, and since then we've been gearing to build on Arbitrum, and that was in early 2022. I think sometime in January or February. Yeah. The mint was delayed because we were supposed to launch independently on Treasure, but after a while we reached out to Treasure just a shot in the dark to see if they were willing to work with us, because back then it was pretty hard to get to be an integrated Treasure partner. And our
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem didn't exactly plan to use Magic throughout. Because of all these factors, we were a bit hesitant to partner with them because we weren't sure whether they would love to partner with us. But ultimately, when we reached out to them, they told us that we were a good fit because our own token could be launched on MagicSwap, and then we could launch even all our NFTs on Trove Marketplace. So they felt like
Mm-hmm.
ultimately we were a good fit, and therefore we went ahead with the partnership.
Yeah, sure. You probably reached out right at the time where they were getting ready to launch all that stuff and they needed content to put on it. So you
Yeah.
probably had really good timing in that regard. And then obviously if things matched up, they must have liked you. So that's pretty cool. That's first lesson for anybody listening right now that's thinking about this stuff is those types of outreaches. You got to take those shots, right? If you said it shot in the dark, and if you would have done that, then things could have turned out very differently for you. And you never know who's going to come to your aid, who's going to work with you, who's going to help you unless you ask those questions. And that's the first thing I call out to the listener there. As you're doing this, so you said end of 21, into 22, you're doing all of this like early building, getting ready to mint, get ready to launch, picking your chain, all that good stuff. What were the like main team needs at that point? Like you said, Wayne was your technical guy. Like what specific technical skills did you all need at that point, and what specific overall team skills? You needed art, you needed tech, you needed the tokenomics, but kind of walk me through that. Like what were like the minimum resources that somebody would need in order to start a project like this?
Yeah, no problem. Back then, our team size before launch, we were around 15 personnel. We had 5 artists, 5 developers, I think 2 business personnel, and like a couple of community mods. In terms of needs, it depends on what you're going to launch. If you're just going to launch a normal NFT, then just artists and a single Solidity dev and probably a website dev like will do. But if you're planning to launch an entire GameFi project, like what we're building at Tales of Elleria, it's pretty complex. So we have around 5 developers working. So a couple of them working on front end, a couple of them working on back end operations, and a couple of Solidity devs because we're a hybrid. Yeah, we take a hybrid approach in terms of off-chain gameplay, which links your wallet back on-chain when you have to make any like transactions or transfers. So
Right.
yeah, you need, in terms of dev team, you need all this kind of stuff. And also for your artists, you need, depending on what your product is offering, like either 2D or 3D artists, and then you need like a graphic designer to design marketing materials. If you need even a game designer to design like game UI, that could also work. Some of our artists were interns, some of our artists were like full-time artists. Some of the art in Tales of Elleria, like the character assets, you could see that it's very well done, especially the clothing and the details, the level of details
Mm-hmm.
on certain legendary items. Like you could see it was pretty well done. Yeah,
Yeah,
and then some
absolutely.
of the stuff that require a little bit less effort, you could tell is done by the intern. So for example, some of the monsters textures. Yeah, just depending on how complex you want your game to be, it's how, I guess I would say it's how much resources you would need. And of course, I think in this market, the most important would be your marketing, because it's a very tough market to launch a product in right now. The projects are offering better and better products. Games are getting more, how do I say, like higher graphics. They're just more high
Right.
quality in general.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you
even in
need to
just the year I've been around, it's advanced quite a bit.
yeah, it's not easy to launch a GameFi project, but if you're planning to create one or launch one, you can just reach out to me. I'll be more than willing to share my expertise or wherever is needed.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Appreciate that for sure. I'm sure the listener does. That matches what I expected, right? Like you have a pretty complex game. You've got 2 tokens, you've got NFTs, you've got different levels of rarities and whatnot inside of them, all different minting constructs and game loops and everything else.
Yeah.
So I definitely expected you to say this is complex and you need a lot of people. Team of 15, that's a lot of people early on in a project. When did you guys, like, how did you get there? Did you just have kind of access to all of that within your network and what you guys were doing? Was it natural, or did you sit down with your co-founders and say, we need a big team if we're going to accomplish this, and then go out and build it?
When Tales of Elleria started, it's a different situation because one of the founders actually ran his own company. Before the launch, when he saw that there was actually a market for Tales of Elleria, he loaned us a couple of more headcount to get us on our feet. So we were pretty lucky to have met him as one of the people in our network. Then
Right.
after we minted, when we had our own funds, we hired people on our own to make sure that the game can continue running and we could continue producing content and progression for our players. But yeah, at the beginning it was our network that helped us get to where we are. So he introduced like 1 or 2 lead artists that set the style of Tales of Elleria, and another co-founder. Like Tales of Elleria has 4 founders. One of them introduced them. 2 is me and Wayne, and the last one is also he's like a full stack web dev. So he has expertise throughout React. I think we call React JS, yeah. So because of that, like we managed to take off to a certain extent and garner enough attention for us.
Okay.
Same, yeah.
Very cool. That makes sense. Basically, you had a team that was very skilled on their own and then had some resources available. So when
Yeah.
the idea and the market looked good, you were able to pull it together. And then, yeah, sure, at that point, you use what you've got, get to the mint, generate some resources, build up the team from there. That makes good sense. So when did you first launch a playable game? So you did the mint. How long after the mint could somebody take their NFT and actually log into the game, go into Elleria, and take on an assignment?
2 weeks after we first launched the NFT, players could start playing the game. They could stake them and they could go on quests.
Very nice. And what did that feel like for you as a founder that first day when you saw people actually logging in and being able to do stuff?
Yeah, it was pretty exciting. We know that games like this have to slowly and gradually release content over time. If not, you'll lose your entire player base. So instead of releasing giant features by giant features, we decided to space out our launch. When we initially launched, we saw that people could come in and play. Everyone was happy, but it was just the beginning and we knew it. So players couldn't really do much. They could only just attack one goblin and complete the quest. So general feedback was quite good. Usually 2 weeks after min, your fathers will have probably left. So
Yeah.
the people that stayed were really those
Or
who
maybe
wanted to.
haven't revealed yet or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, so the people who stayed were probably those who wanted to play. So we gave them one quest and we tell them that there are 5 quests coming within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then, yeah, people just got excited and patiently wait for the next quest coming out. And as they explore more quests and different kinds of difficulties of quests and the joy of meeting and obtaining rewards from the quest, yeah, they eventually got hooked on Tales of Elleria.
Oh, that's a great way to do it. And you're right. In this business, you have to prove really quickly that you're not a fraudster if you want people to stick around. So the only way to really do that is by delivering things. So the taking that MVP approach, giving a little by little, is definitely a great point at anybody trying to do this stuff. Plus, it allows you to manage your resources a little bit better too. Not trying to build out an entire complex game all at once and launch all at once. So that's a smart move. And it seems like you've stuck with that because you're rolling things out. And then you can look through, if someone goes through your Medium articles, you can see every month or two there's a new feature, a new loop, things like that going on. So does that continue to be the approach today?
Yeah, of course. Slowly and gradually getting into people's lifestyle. It's like going to the gym or exercising. You can't jump straight into it. You're bound to stop after a while. Like you're bound to burn out. So we try to make our player base get used to the feeling of questing every day. So even if it's just like a 10-15 minutes kind of thing. And then slowly over time, we build out more and more content in the game, and then your play time starts to increase. And then when players feel burnout when it's too much playtime, then we reduce the playtime on the old content and then we introduce new content. So even though the playtime is around the same or a little bit less, players are a lot more engaged and a lot more happy than they could have been.
So I play the game and I did not notice that you were doing that to me, but that's brilliant because the old stuff, you get bored with it over a while, right? So if you you don't get rid of it, but you slowly diminish the time someone's going to spend on it and give them something else to do. Keep that. If I've made 20 minutes in my morning every day for Tales of Elleria, you keep your 20 minutes. You just keep using it differently, if you will. That's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, so like world boss, like how we introduce world boss to earn magic, we introduce the Tower of Babel for you to try to climb to the highest you can. We introduce other types of quests like slimes. So yeah, different kinds of way that we try to capture players' attention along the way. We learned this from I think Bridge World. At the start, people were very excited to quest every 8 hours, but ultimately, like after the rewards dilute and then players' interest died down, we could tell that you require either more content or more rewards to keep them hooked. So the way that we do it is we try to progressively release content like 2 weeks to 4 weeks, some big content to get our players hooked on it.
Yeah, very nice. And the latest release here, speaks right to that. Is you gave us the ability to skip the battles,
yeah,
on quests as you introduce the tower. So, like, it's exactly what you just described. You use the same time that I was given to the game as you were the day before, but now I'm using it differently. So, very good stuff. That's a really clean way to keep engaging people. Now, what's the balance with something like that when you add a world boss, a tower, any of those kind of additional game loops? Are those specifically designed just to keep attention, or are those part of a growing narrative or a growing kind of world that you're building? Are they strategic in that way too?
Yeah, of course. So if you take a look at Tales of Elleria's world map at the very start, before release and now, you can see that most of these features were actually planned beforehand. So over time, like I think the Colosseum was in Tales of Area before we even launched the game. You could see that we already had that plan. And now that we launched the tower, people could finally look at the vision that Tales of Area had behind the tower. Yeah, so it was all planned way back before. We wanted to just introduce different intricacies throughout the game and yeah, just add more content for. Usually, when you take a look at games like mobile games, RPG mobile games, there are many different things to do, like the main storyline and different side quests. So yeah, here we're introducing different side quests for players to go and enjoy, and then one side quest at a time. Eventually, it might even go to a point where we sunset one of the side quests, like we close the Tower of Babel because we had to give it a rework or the rewards were too much. But if we ever do, then we will come out with content to keep the other player engaged.
Got it. Got it. So you're in the never ending cycle of developing the
Yeah,
storyline and narrative, keeping people engaged, rebalancing all of your tokenomics and basically the whole economy that builds around the game throughout. Yeah, so it continues to be a complex endeavor throughout. I can see for sure. You're saying that a lot of this stuff has been the plan from the beginning. You guys had this laid out, and that's really fascinating given the environment that you've been building in here, right? So if you built in the end of 21 and launched in early 22, basically you started all of this at the end of a massive bull run and you launched into basically a market cataclysm there in the spring of
yeah,
22, and then you've been building throughout and building your community and building the whole thing, your whole economy throughout a really nasty bear market. So tell me, how did you and your co-founders and your team overall, how did you manage both your, I guess, your resources obviously through all of that? Because I imagine your resource picture changed dramatically around March of 22, like everybody else's. But how did you manage your emotions through all of that? I imagine it had to be a lot of massive swings of highs and lows from bull market to the things crashing as we're launching. Tell me about
yeah.
that time and with for the team.
We were pretty fortunate and unfortunate in a sense because we were fortunate to the point where we launched while ETH was still high and we managed to hit like I think 1 million in treasury. But then again, the crash came and we didn't fully exit in time. We only exited while it was crashing, so we managed to salvage a sizable portion of our treasury. And yeah, it has been a journey of ups and downs throughout this whole time. All we have to do is just keep our head down and keep building. I think that's the way that we can tackle all this problem. That the market is something that we can't control. Even if we might love it or hate it, when ETH goes up or go down, it's something that we can't control. So who knows what's gonna happen tomorrow? Like maybe crypto is gonna get banned in every state in the world. So all the only thing we can do is just to keep our head down and keep building. And yeah, so what happened was after we took our treasury and converted it all into USD, we just used that to try to continue building out more content for the game. Because more content hopefully means more players means more revenue back into the game. Yeah. Yeah, we just didn't think about the things that we couldn't
Okay.
control. Of course, there are a little bit of hindsight. You're like, oh, why can't I? Why should I have sold my ETH at 3,000 or so should I have sold my ETH at 4,000? But yeah, these are things that we can't control. So instead of just looking back and regretting our choices, we just keep our head down, keep building, and just keep thinking of ways to improve the game or reaching out to more communities to introduce our game to them and just keep expanding the way that we know how.
Yeah, I mean, it's takes a lot of discipline to manage yourself that way, and certainly easier said than done. I imagine having a team of 4 co-founders probably helped. So you weren't trying to figure that out on your own. You had some folks to lean on. Did that help?
Yeah, of course. I think since there are four of us, a lot of decision when it came to the bigger picture items were made together. It was a joy, working with them, and I'm still like pretty happy working with this team. Really thankful that they're here. So no matter like how the market goes around in circles, our team will just stick it through and yeah, have each other's backs. I think
No,
that's
very cool.
something that other projects don't have, which can be pretty tough if you're alone developing and then you meet a tough time. You might think that it's my fault that the project is turning out this way, but because there's four of us here and then we regularly consult each other and we make team decisions, a board of directors, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Got it. Yeah, no, it's good to have a team, man, for sure. So looking back on this now over the past 18 months, what would you say was the biggest surprise for you? Or what was different than you expected it to be when you started this project to what you learned along the way?
Yeah, so for us, there was one huge surprise, which was the Elm Pump that took place last November.
Oh,
And that
right. Yeah.
was, yeah, it was because we weren't minted out until October. We took 6 months to mint out the project. We minted around 4 to 5,000 on the first day, and then took another 6 months to mint out the rest of the 5,000. And in October, we released a demo video of our phase beta because we promised an open world RPG game, but it because of the market conditions, we couldn't really build such a complex product out. So we decided to transition into this Illyrian Racer game. So when we launched that product, a lot of people came to reach out to us wanting to put their characters in the game. I think John wanted to put Smalls in it. We were very happy to do that. And then other different games from other communities wanted to put their characters in Illyrian Racers. So people saw that we were actually building a secondary product on top of Tales of Elleria, and everyone was very hyped about it, and they decided to mint more of Tales of Elleria heroes. And that created a lot of FOMO for our players because
Mhm.
our own players, which were like regularly saving up magic to buy or to mint heroes over time, they saw that the amount of leftover was slowly dwindling, so they decided to mint even more like ASAP. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and then we minted out. So after we minted out, we had some celebration and all, and then after a few weeks, the Elm token pumped like 20 times. It went from like 30 cents
I
to
remember that.
$6. Yeah, it was
Yep.
pretty insane. I think one whale bought into our token, and then people who were watching the whale's wallet decided to buy in as well.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And if you know me, I'm a person that is like only thinking about sustainability of the game. So I don't
Yep.
really prioritize the price of the token that much. But yeah, so when the Elm token pumped, I just sold all my tokens because I know that the price is sustainable. Like at that price where we plan the game out, that players won't be interested to buy the token. Whoever comes into the game and they farm Elm, they will only dump the token. So
Yep.
some of the game loops didn't make any sense because the Elm was too high, so nobody would burn Elm. For example, it costs like 500 Elm to level up your hero. Yeah, and when
Right.
Elm price is like $6, nobody will
Yeah.
spend $3,000.
That's an expensive hero.
Yeah, so it doesn't make
Yep.
sense. Yeah, so you know that Elm has to go down. In the
Right.
future, we are planning more dynamic measures to moderate the price of leveling up to make sure that it's more dynamic. When the price go up, then the cost go down. But yeah, for now, at least for that point of time, it was quite impossible to do such a feature. Yeah, I think majority of our player base who stuck with us throughout the 6 to 8 months, they all earn a big buck.
That's pretty rewarding as a founder to see your community all get a payday like that. Yeah, so that had to be fun. And then, so within the game too, you had to change a whole bunch of the economics of it and the drop rates and everything else as a result of that. In addition, like you said, getting rid of some of the game loops. So, how long did it take for that stuff to kind of all balance back out?
Actually, it took around a month. We didn't really care
Okay.
about the price. We just slowly dumped until it was a good price to start moderating the game. Yeah, because we ourselves are earning a lot as well. I think the community, everyone's earning a lot. And we know that if we change it now, the price of M will stay high. But because these sort of pumps are unsustainable, there's a lot of people who just come into the game and just buy the token, not wanting to play the
Hmm.
game at all. And until
Right.
the point where we get rid of these players, we know that it's not sustainable. So we decided not to change anything, to let our players dump on them until the point where they cannot hold on any longer. Like they lose too much value and then they let go of
Oh,
all their
okay.
tokens. Yeah, that's when we decide to regulate the price. Sorry,
Okay.
change the features.
So just let the market do its thing. Looking back on
Yeah.
it, was that the right decision now, you think?
Yes, for sure. Lots of
Okay.
people came
Very
into
good.
the Discord. They came in and scold us. They're like, Elm is a shit token. It down from $6 to $2. But yeah, if
We
you've been
didn't tell
around
you to
long
buy it.
enough, yeah. So I don't need to care about.
People in crypto are hilarious.
That's true. That's true.
Uh,
I don't need to
it's
care
like,
about
this
your
was your
opinions.
responsibility, Smash. I was supposed to make money here. What gives? Nice. So, all right. So that was, yeah, certainly an exciting time and an unexpected thing. So then you guys are celebrating your 1 year anniversary now, what, April of 23, and you got your balloons on your map. You're having a good time. I actually remember a tweet from you somewhere on there. I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it in front of me, but you're something like, or a year in, I can't believe I'm running a game, Web3 game. This is amazing. And shortly thereafter, I think about 2 weeks into your celebration is when you guys had the ELM hack. So tell me about that one. Again, speaking of highs and lows, right? You're celebrating, everything's awesome, can't believe I'm here. And then you literally have the rug pulled out from underneath you there. Tell me, how did you first find out that was going on?
Yeah, so the hack really came at a poor timing. So not only did it come at a late at night time in Singapore, I think the hack happened around 1 a.m. in Singapore time. It also happened the day, one day before we were supposed to fly to Australia, Sydney, to meet the Treasure
Mm-hmm.
team, just to thank them for the year that they've had with us. But yeah, unfortunately, these things happen. Like, I think it's one of the biggest and the toughest part of Web3 space, which is trying to navigate away from the hacks, especially when you're building a project as complex as Tales of Elleria. So at a point of time, the hack or the exploit happened at 1 a.m. So we were notified about it like around half an hour later. Within 5 minutes, we created a crisis management group with the core members to diagnose the problem, discuss what sort of damage mitigation procedures we could do, and then what are our immediate steps to take. And then after which we disabled all claiming and withdrawals or ELM, and we took the entire game down like within 15 minutes or so. Yeah. And then within another 10 minutes, we made announcements to the Discord and Twitter to notify players of the breach and that we'll be taking the game down. So all in all, we took around half an hour to react to the situation. I would say that it was pretty fast on our side, given that such a thing has happened and we have never dealt with
Mm-hmm.
something like this before. And yeah, we took around 2 to 3 hours to go and do an initial diagnosis of the exploit, and we convened an emergency meeting with the community to let them know like our brief findings and what's going to happen. Yeah, we told them the game is going to be down for around a month. We're going to work through the exploit and patch the exploit firstly, and then we'll go and get all our contracts and our game audited. And after which we will see if we can find arrangements to refuel the LP. Yeah. So worst comes to worst, we will just fuel the LP out of our own pockets. So yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
was what happened and what went down on the day of the event. And then we coded all the way until the morning, and then I was trying to help like address the entire community all the way until the sun came up. And yeah, we took a short nap, packed our stuff, and flew over to Australia.
Man, yeah, that had to be quite a day or two there. So what
Yeah.
did that feel like? Like we talked about some of your highs here and launching the game, that's a high, and Helm Pumps and the community is making some money and that felt good. What did this low feel like?
Well, within the first 2 hours, we were pretty stressed out. Like I was stress eating and just solving, like just
Mm,
trying to find out what the error was and talking to the community. It was insane. But after that 2 hours or 3 hours, when you had to snap back to reality and you have to handle this emotionally, I think that's a switch that you gotta have on all the time. Get rid of the emotions and focus on the task at hand. Even though it may be a low and we may not recover from that point, yeah, just put one foot in front of the other and take the next step. So we are quite systematic in that. So we're like, okay, what's the next step? Address the community. All right, what's the next step? Finding out the error. Then what's the next step? Telling Treasure that we were hacked and asking for help from Treasure and asking for help from the community. Yeah. So we were just taking it one step at a time to work through the different procedures that we had to go through. And then I think Treasure played a very big role. Like immediately Treasure they jumped on a call with us without a moment's notice, and they talked through the different procedures that we should do and the things that we missed out. And yeah, we're very thankful for them in this process, and we're very lucky to have them as our partners.
yeah, yeah. I know that. I imagine it was almost probably helpful in a way from an emotional standpoint that you guys
Yeah,
were there with them in person that next day too, right?
yeah,
Like a little bit like in-person commiseration instead of on the phone. I imagine probably was a bit helpful. How did the
yes.
community respond to all of it?
Our community was pretty positive though, because they've seen that we've been building this project over a year. They've seen the hard work that we've put in, and yeah, there was a lot of support from our community. Even weirdly enough, people that hate Treasure came into our Discord to let us know that they are in support of us. Yeah, there were like way back in the day there were people that really hated Treasure. I don't know for whatever reasons, and then they came into our Discord and they gave us their support. And then throughout many different Discords, or it's all over Twitter, like people were just wishing us to come back because Tales of Elleria, from the very start, we had no drama with anyone. We were just product first, product first, product first. So when people see the hard work that we put in without any drama, they're like, "Well, I really wish that this project would get back on their feet." So yeah, the community are pretty positive on how this will turn out. There are a few concerned individuals, like if they see that we had to refund the LP with our own money, they might worry for the longevity of the project. But
Right.
yeah, that was resolved when we had our conversation with Treasure Dao, and Treasure Dao decided to help us with some sort of treasury swap. So they are funding the LP with Magic, but will give a certain portion of Elm or that it was part of our treasury to them. So as a form of value exchange.
All right, very cool. As someone in the community, and I'm certainly no whale, I've got 3 heroes and I play every day, but be part of my morning routine. And I missed you when you were gone, and I was very happy when you came back. But I'll say, and I've done these types of risk mitigation. I've been in IT forever and I've designed disaster recovery systems and things like that. So just as a observer of how you all handled this, it looked really well done. It looked very professional, very measured and definitive, which I think is really important in that, and probably went a long way to making the community feel better, is that you all weren't wishy-washy in what you were going to do. And you're like, no, game shut down. Elm shut down for a month. That's a big call to make on that first day. I was actually surprised you guys made that like definitive long call. We're shutting down for a month and we're going to take care of this the right way. And I think that like very definitive, one foot in front of the other, like you said, but with confidence, showed through really well. So kudos to you and the team for that, doing that obviously under emotional duress and everything else. So I'll say that as a community member. But then my question is, where are you at in all of this? I know you've been very methodical about multiple contract audits, trying to make sure that you got this on lockdown so that you don't obviously experience this again. So where are you at in that progression right now?
So by the time this podcast release, we'll probably have launched. So
There you go.
we are ready to launch next Monday, 3rd of July. I think by the time the
Okay.
podcast launch, yeah, it will
Yeah,
probably
you're
be
going to beat
launched
the
already.
podcast for sure.
So yeah, so this sort of audits are very hard to book. Those good auditors will probably have their 2 month schedule already packed. Yeah, and because of the introduction from Treasure, we managed to squeeze in a small slot like after a month. And that's why it took so long, because we had to wait a month and then have our contract audits, and then finally fix all the changes that were found in the audits, and then finally release Elm. In terms of things, that's why we took so long. In hindsight, maybe we should have reached out to the auditors the moment the game went down. But yeah, we also wanted to wait for Treasure's auditors to come and take a look at our game. So I'll say that it was a very
Mm-hmm.
good introduction from Treasure, because they had an exploit back, I think in March 2022, when their marketplace got exploited, and they handled it in 9 days. So that was really impressive of them, and since then they haven't had any other exploits, regardless whether it's through bridge war or through the marketplace. So we wanted to look for them as our guidance to help us through this process, and they introduced us to, I think, two different auditors, and we had one that we really felt like they could help us. So yeah, we arranged the timing with them, and yeah, that's why only when the game went down late April, Elm could only be released in early July, because yeah, this 2 months break was the time that we had to wait for the audit and then have it audited, then fix the changes that we found out from the audit.
All right, very good. So yeah, this thing will be live after. So at this point, people have already been enjoying their ELM being live again for a couple of weeks probably. So that's awesome. Congrats on that. Congrats on handling and getting through all that. What's next from here? You guys obviously you just launched the Tower of Babel. We're about a week and a half into that at this point, and it's going to be out for a little while. But what's coming? What's next?
Yeah, so a lot of things. I can say a lot of things. In our planning document, we have 5 or 6 unreleased features. So just to name a few, we have loot box planned, so people can roll for loot. For example, currently you have your random skin boxes where you can open skins.
Mm-hmm.
Next time you can open a loot from this sort of boxes that drop from monsters. We're having a Harvening and the Hard Dungeon rework. We're changing up the difficulty or more like adding difficulty to certain dungeons, and yeah, reworking some of them along the way. We have the whole equipment system planned out. It's going to come out as one of our next few features. The equipment system, we have the equipment art and everything ready. Just need a couple more weeks to a month to test. Couple more weeks to test, and then we're good to go. Then the equipment will add a new dimension for current players, so players will be able to clear like the Tower Beaver faster, to clear harder difficulties quests faster. And then we have skills entirely planned out. So the skills, they have 7 or 8 different categories of skills with more like over 200 plus skills planned out. Each skill gonna do a different action. There's multiple ways you can change up your gameplay. Special attacks will change from 1 to 2. And then you have 2 skills per person. So you can build different equipment with different skills to work, like to synergize well together. So for example, if you have a skill that does damage based on the amount of HP you have, and then you have item that increases your HP. So yeah, those skills and those equipment will gel very well together. We also have a battle pass planned out. The battle pass is a way for players to want to progress faster, but you require dedication to play the game to grow faster. So as you complete quests, you unlock more parts of the battle pass. There's going to be a free battle pass and a paid one. So free players will also get to enjoy perks of the battle pass. And then if you wish to progress even faster, you can just buy the battle pass for a certain amount of magic, and then it will unlock rewards that's even greater than the free one. Yeah, and lastly, we have the ethereal hero plan. So it's something like a free hero for everyone. So it's easier for us to handle collaborations when we go out and find partners. For example, we have like a partnership with maybe Realm. And then Realm players come in, they can try Tales of Elleria by using the free heroes, like a Breach World recruits, if you know what I mean.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yep.
so multiple different features planned out, and we're going to slowly release them over time. Hopefully, a few weeks to a month lead time between each feature to keep our player base entertained.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. It's great timeline and roadmap here for sure. And yeah, I'm excited for a lot of that stuff. And I love all the play between the treasure games at this point in any level of interop, whether it's direct and in-game, where there's like actual fragments or treasures or NFTs that are used in both, or even just those kinds of softer collabs like you're talking about, where it's if you own one of those, you can come in and do free play. I love that. So I'm glad to see you all continue to do that and build on it. And yeah, no, just really excited to see where you guys take this next. So sitting here today, do you feel successful? Do you feel like you've accomplished what you've set out to over the last year or so? And what would success look like for you in, say, a year from now?
If you ask me if you think I'm successful, I would say not yet. We can't deny the success that Tales of Elleria had throughout this time. Like, we managed to be self-sustaining, but it's not where I ultimately feel like Tales of Elleria will be. So not yet is the way that I'm going. Yeah. And I think not being contented with your progress is very important, because you always want to strive for more. And that's why I guess in 1 year, Tales of Elleria, we want all those features built up. And then we have the next step to take, which is sort of undisclosed for now. And it's sort of still in discussion. But yeah, we have a very big next step that we want to take in a direction that it might be pretty scary to go into, but we'll see.
Okay. It's important to do that too. You got to be scared once in a while, right?
Yeah.
All right. Awesome, man. I'll say from the outside looking in, you've got beautiful art, you've got a fun game, you've got a super engaged community. I mean, I sat in with you watching you play the tower the other day and spinning the wheel and all that stuff, and people love the game. People are excited and they're following along and looking for what's next. Kudos to you guys. Definitely, I think, a leader in the Treasure and the larger Arbitrum gaming ecosystem for sure. Congrats on what you've done so far, and thanks for coming to share today. And yeah, really excited to keep playing along and watching you guys grow.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And last question on the way out here is, if you could offer one piece of advice to a would-be founder, what would that be?
My one piece of advice to a would-be founder is to go to my Twitter and see the 10 advice that I have to give for founders.
There you go. All right. We'll have to link that up. I'll make sure I grab that from you. All right.
Yeah.
Perfect, man. Thanks again. This has been awesome. Really appreciate the time. And to you, the listener, we'll be back with more great founders from the Arbitrum ecosystem soon. Thank you for listening to Ready Layer 2. If you're an Arbitrum builder with a story to share, then hit me up on Twitter at GitSmall, GITSMOL. Learn more at gitsmall.com.